Before the Nintendo 64 ever arrived on the scene, gamers across the world were playing Bomberman on various consoles of the time. The most obvious reason why was because of the near perfect multiplayer battle mode, which I for one can count many late night gaming binges to its addictive fun. So when Hudson announced that they were working on a brand new Bomberman game to be an early N64 release, we expected much of the same, but the question was, how could they improve on what was a near perfect game first time around? Unlike previous Bomberman games, Bomberman 64 seems to strike a balance between its single player mode and the multiplayer mayhem the series is best known for. The single player mode is split between various worlds which fit the platforming genre as expected. Each world has a sub-boss and are broken down into smaller levels where you must use your bomb blasting and puzzle solving skills to work your way through them in order before taking on the world boss. Thankfully, you actually have a choice which order to tackle the worlds in, and whilst the game starts off fairly easy, it has a well balanced learning curve which will slowly ease you into the game. With every Bomberman game you do expect to have a great selection of different bomb types to use, and Bomberman 64 is no exception. You have timed bombs, mega bombs, and other power-ups which you'll need to quickly learn how to best use if you have any plans of completing the game. Thankfully you can also kick bombs and jump on them, heck you can even blow yourself up to reach harder to reach areas. The bombs and your skills with them are mostly tested when it comes to the previously mentioned boss battles. Sadly, whilst the bosses are a cool throwback to Guardians from the previous games, they are far too easy, and with enough skill you can actually take down the sub-bosses in a matter of seconds and the main bosses in under a minute. Whilst it doesn't ruin the game, I can't help but feel the payoff for completing each world should have been a little stronger, and a more epic bomb-fueled battle would have certainly helped the game's longevity. What does extend the life of the game though is the sheer amount of exploration and trial and error you'll need to go through when playing the game. Whilst it doesn't get crazy in terms of being a collectathon, each world has 5 gold diamonds for you to collect, and due to the 3D environments you can experiment as the best way to complete each level. Whilst the game is in 3D, the camera moves in 90-degree positions, which means the camera is easy to control and it's quite straightforward to position it in the right place to not obstruct your view. The downside to this though is that it does take away from the visual fluidity and makes the game feel a little stiff and rigid to play at times. It also extends the game needlessly, as you'll spend a lot of time changing the camera position to sometimes see a small area you'll need to reach or a bomb to place. But don't let that put you off. The game looks rather nice, and considering it's an early N64 title, I really liked what Hudson did with the visuals. It has the same look as the previous Bomberman games in terms of art style, but clearly the 3D and polygons go a long way to bringing Bomberman into a new era. The textures and animation all stand out, but at times some of the textures are quite poor. This can be forgiven however, as nothing seems to blend or merge together, which still keeps the visuals clear and easy to navigate in game. The sound however is perhaps a highlight of the game. Like its sequels on the console, Bomberman 64 has some of the catchiest tunes around. It's a blend of electronic style elevator music, but that thing doesn't quite do it justice. It doesn't distract you from the overall gameplay and it's just kind of there, but the second you notice it you can't help but not to notice it again. The same quality is also in the effects as the bombs blast with a gritty rumble, and when the dynamic environments react at times you are greeted with the same quality. Sadly though, some of the better music is used during the boss battles, which as I mentioned previously, leave you with little time to enjoy them as the action is over far too quickly. The multiplayer mode also sadly doesn't reach the heights of the previous generations. Whilst the maps are nicely done, it will quickly feel at home for veterans of the series, but it is just more of the same with a little less balance. A funny touch is that dead heroes can come back as almost zombies and piggyback active players to frustrate and annoy them. With the added meteors for the last few moments to provide extra special pickups, it adds to the sense of urgency and it is a welcome addition to the multiplayer mode. Now critics of the time unfairly compared this to Mario 64. Whilst they are both 3D games with platform elements, Bomberman's single player campaign relies more on its puzzle solving than Mario, and it makes the game feel quite unique, at least for its time. If you want a solid platform puzzler, then Space Station Silicon Valley is the go-to game on the N64. But considering this was the first on the console, you have to give credit to Hudson for making an original game rather than trying to move the series into a purely platforming action game. But how do you remember Bomberman 64? Did you get this hoping for another huge platforming adventure? Or was it a day one pickup for you hoping to find a classic multiplayer game to play with your friends and family? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time.